Hello everyone! So, we got the Snyder Cut. I talked about it. My spoiler review will be linked here if you want to hear me talk about that. But we also got some details about what Zack Snyder's future plans for the DCEU would have been for his Justice League movies. So I want to talk about that because there's a lot of Restore the Snyderverse stuff, and I personally enjoyed the Snyder Cut a lot. But a lot of the stuff for the future of the Snyderverse I'm not the biggest fan of. So we're going to be talking about some of this stuff. I wrote down some bullet points. There were a couple weeks ago, there were some storyboards that were leaked. I'm not going to be putting them here on the screen because Warner Bros. Has been taking like some of the stuff down. So I don't want to risk it. Probably nothing would happen, but I just want to stay on the safe side. So I'll have like an article link in the description that has the storyboards if you want to look at them for yourself. They have some Jim Lee drawings on there and stuff, and I believe it's Zack Snyder's handwriting talking about what would happen. So it's very interesting, but stuff that I'm really not the biggest fan of. So I'm not going to be covering everything because there's a lot. There's so much. Like, there is so much here. I'm just going to be talking about the stuff that mainly revolves around Superman because he is my favorite DC character, and he's the one that I'm most protective of because he is my favorite DC character. And yeah, so as most of you guys know, I love Man of Steel. I hated Batman v Superman, but I like the Snyder Cut, so I like the majority of Zack Snyder's DC stuff. But yeah, some of the stuff did not sound very good. So I'm going to be a little all over the place in terms of the timeline for talking about this stuff because the way I saw the storyboards, they were kind of all out of order. I don't know if this is how the storyboards were actually placed. If so, it doesn't make any sense because like 1 second a character's dead and then the next they're alive. It doesn't make any sense. I think they were just placed like in the article out of order, but who knows. Anyways, spoilers for the Snyder Cut if you haven't seen that, so there's your warning there. Anyways, let's get into it. So let's talk about the whole Lois dying thing. We know at the end of the Snyder Cut, in the Snyder Cut, we saw the whole thing of Lois dying in Superman's arm, her like charred body while Darkseid stands over Superman. And yeah, so that's a huge part of the movie. There's this weird sort of love triangle that Snyder was going for that apparently WB shut down, but his original plans were to have that Bruce and Lois hooked up and Superman came back and Lois was torn because she wanted to be with Bruce, but also Clark's back and he needs her, so she wants to be with him as well, and Bruce wants to be with Lois because he loves Lois. And so there's this sort of love triangle that Superman's kind of left out of, like he doesn't really know about it at first. And Lois and Bruce are working together to try to hunt down Lex because Lex is trying to put together an Injustice League because he wants to take the anti-life equation for himself. So there's so much here. Like I said, it's a complete mess, like the way of reading it, the storyboards, and how I'm going to be displaying it here in the video. Bruce and Lois are working together on this, but they also like fight all the time because Bruce is kind of like, we should, do stuff together. Lois is like, Clark needs me. But yeah, so there's a lot of that in here. But there's a point to where Bruce, Lois, and Clark all regroup at the Batcave, and they learn that Darkseid is coming to Earth. And so Superman's like, okay, I'm going to go stop him. And he has some dialogue here that he wrote that sounds awful. When Superman goes there, he tells Bruce that this is a fight among the gods. She's my world protector. So he's saying to Bruce, you're a puny little human. This is for the god like me because I'm a god. And then he tells him to protect Lois while he goes to fight Darkseid. This is so dumb. First off, Clark doesn't view himself as a god. He would never say that to Bruce. That is just terrible. I hate the sort of dehumanizing they've done of Clark in Batman v Superman onward. Because in Man of Steel, he actually felt very human. He's trying to discover his Kryptonian roots, but he felt much more connected to Earth in that movie. But then in Batman v Superman, he felt like he wanted nothing to do with Earth, and he felt more Kal-El than Clark, and it was really weird. And like the whole being Superman thing, he didn't even want anything to do with it. He's like, that was the hopes of a dumb farmer, and it was odd. And then in this, they're kind of continuing that. He's like, oh yeah, I'm a god, and I'm going to go defeat another god. Like, stay out of this, Bruce, protect Lois. And that just sounds awful. I hate that. I hate that so much. Also, they're continuing the whole Superman's world is Lois. Without her, he is nothing. I hate that so much. It's another thing that like a lot of people believe. A lot of people that don't know Superman believe that, and that's not how it is. One of the best examples is Superman Ending Battle. At the end of Superman Ending Battle, after Superman goes through so many like essentially wars, he fights so many villains. Manchester Black is a guy that can mind control people, and he sets a lot of people after Superman. A bunch of different Superman villains like Bizarro, Mongol, are some of the most notable in that storyline. But after just fighting people constantly, and his parents even being attacked, Jonathan Martha Kent and almost dying, Superman goes and he goes to help to save Lois because Lois is captured by Manchester Black. He gets there, Manchester Black, with his powers, puts an image in Superman's head that he had just murdered Lois, that Lois is dead. And Superman's there, he thinks of just absolutely frying Manchester Black with his eyes, but he decides not to, and Manchester Black gets all upset. He's like, why won't you give in? Why won't you kill me? He's like, because what's the point? Lois wouldn't have wanted me to do that. So if I'm doing this, I'm kind of doing something against her legacy, against what she would have wanted. So it defeats the purpose. Like, that's not going to help. He's like, you're just going to go to prison. And so then Manchester Black, like, puts down the facade and reveals that Lois is still alive. But the point being is, Superman wasn't just like a mess and just like, oh no, without Lois, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Guess I'll turn evil and be a dictator and just take over the world or something. Like, no, he was still Superman. Superman was Superman before Lois, and he's going to be Superman after Lois. I hate this whole idea that, well, without Lois, Clark's just a blobbering mess. He can't do anything. Of course it would affect him, but it's not going to ruin who he is. He is still Superman. He was Superman before Lois. He'd be Superman after Lois. I hate that plot point. It's way overused. It's dumb. Anyways, when Superman goes to actually fight Darkseid, he gets there, they fight for like a bit, and then Darkseid booms tubes to Lois in the Batcave. Batman's like up top in the Batcave, and like I think they said something about like a glass floor being there or something. Batman kind of is like cowering in the corner watching all this. Darkseid is right in front of Lois. Superman uses his super speed to get there just in time to watch Darkseid murder Lois with his Omega beams, just turns her to ash. Then Superman is enraged. He wants to go tear apart Darkseid. When he goes to do that, though, Darkseid looks at him with the anti-life coursing through his veins. He's able to affect Superman's mind, and then Superman, turns to Darkseid. And all of this happens while Bruce just watches in horror. It's very out of character for Bruce, too. Like, not just... Superman's not the only one that's out of character. Bruce is as well. Like, why is Bruce just sitting there being like, oh, wow, Darkseid just showed up, and he's about to murder Lois, the person that Clark just told me it is his world and I should protect. I'm just going to sit up here and cower. And then he sees Darkseid start to use the anti-life on Superman, and he still just watches in horror, doesn't do anything. It's so weird. Batman, a guy that, yeah, he's not going to be able to do much against Darkseid, but he's still a man of action. He's going to do something. He is in his Bat Cave. He's got his contingencies. He's going to do something, but instead he's just like, nah, I'm just going to chill up here and hide. It doesn't make any sense. Then later on, we go into the future, to the Nightmare timeline, 5 years in the future, where Superman has helped Darkseid take over the planet, and you have Batman and his ragtag team of the Justice League members that are still alive, because Wonder Woman died, I believe, because I think it was Dr. Poison, the villain from the first Wonder Woman movie. I think she, poisoned Themyscira or something. She, gassed them. I think Wonder Woman died that way. And then Aquaman got tricked or something by Black Manta and Orm. Something like that happened. Also, I remember reading somewhere that, James Wan's Aquaman is not canon to Zack Snyder's universe, which is dumb, but makes sense in terms of if you watch the Snyder Cut, because Mara's British in that. Her parents are dead. Aquaman's parents are also, well, his father's dead. I don't know if his mother is, but his father's dead, which is weird. And I really am glad that they didn't go with that, because Aquaman's father was one of my favorite parts of that movie. I love their relationship and everything in that movie. It was great. So for him to be dead, that'd be dumb. And I'm happy that they didn't go with that. But yeah, that's kind of weird. Anyways, but there's a lot here. But I remember reading something about how I believe Black Manta and Orm tricked Aquaman or something. They killed him. And again, I believe Dr. Poison had something to do with Wonder Woman getting killed. So that's why they're dead in the future timeline. So in the future timeline, they come up with an idea. Cyborg comes up with an idea. I believe it's Cyborg who came up with it. He builds a cosmic treadmill that needs to be powered by a mother box. They figure out where a mother box is. They get one, and they are going to send Barry back in time. And they said that they can only do this once a year. There has to be a certain point in the year to do it, to where everything's going to be the same back then. So that way, say they send Barry back in time, and he runs into when he does it, he just runs into a rock wall and dies or something. So they have to do it at a certain time. So they only have one chance at this. So they need to get the mother box. They get the mother box. They are trying to power the cosmic treadmill. But they decide what he's going to do. They say he should warn Bruce. What should he warn Bruce of? They agree that he should warn Bruce about Lex, because Lex is the one that triggered the warning that got Darkseid over here. So they're like, we need to stop Lex. And everyone's like, yeah, they should do that. And then Lex pulls Barry aside and not Lex, Bruce pulls Barry aside and yeah, don't do that, because I was already on Lex's heels. I was already trying to get him, so that's not going to help. Instead, tell him this. He whispers something. We don't know what it is at the time. We learn a little bit later. Anyways, then evil Superman shows up. Deadshot's here, by the way. He's part of this ragtag group. He may have been replaced by Deathstroke later on, because we see that Deathstroke's in there, but Deadshot's not. So I'm assuming that got changed to Deathstroke. Anyways, Deadshot shoots a kryptonite bullet at Superman. Superman dodges it, which is funny because he can dodge a kryptonite bullet, but there are other things that are so much slower that he could not, that are not kryptonite, that he couldn't dodge in the other movies. So anyways, he dodges that, kills Deadshot, and then Mara and him fight. Mara tries to rip the water out of Superman, sort of like how she tried to rip the blood out of Steppenwolf in Justice League, in the Snyder Cut. Superman crushes her. Also, something I forgot to say was they wrote in there that when Bruce pulled Barry aside, he said that she, referring to Lois, she was Superman's world, and I believe I broke that connection. But I hate that so much. I hate this relationship between Bruce and Lois. I hate it. They tried to do it in the Superman and Batman animated series movie. It was terrible, and I hate it. It's so dumb. Lois should not be involved with Bruce at all. It's just like something that Batman fans want to do. Like, it's weird. People have this obsession of like cucking Superman, and it's really weird. And Snyder's one of those people. So him to just be like, yeah, you know, I ruined that connection, that relationship between Clark and Lois because, you know, I'm just Batman and I went in there and I just ruined it because she had fell in love with me. It's so dumb. But back to the battle after killing Mara, Superman then fights Green Lantern. On the storyboards, it looks like Hal Jordan, but when Zack Snyder was talking about before, he said John Stewart's his Green Lantern. So I don't know if it'd be Hal Jordan or John Stewart, but on the storyboards, it's like Hal Jordan, but Zack Snyder talking about it's John Stewart. So one of them two, it just says Green Lantern. Anyways, Green Lantern tries to fight Superman. Superman heat visions his ring to where it explodes, and that causes his arm explode with it, so he's taken care of. And then he goes and Cyborg tries to take him on. He ends up beating up Cyborg, tossing him to Parademons. Parademons rip him apart, and then Superman fights Batman. Batman has the kryptonite spear from BVS. Superman takes a spear and impales Batman with it, which, not gonna lie, that would be kind of satisfying after Batman v Superman, but still, I don't care to see Batman killing Superman. I mean, Superman killing Batman. And then after that, he goes after Flash, but Flash, it's too late. Flash is able to go back in time. Flash goes back in time to that point in the Batcave where Lois and Batman had met up earlier, and I believe it's supposed to be Justice League 2, where they had met up in the Batcave, talking about like Lex's and Justice League or whatever, and during that they had a spat because Batman's like, I know you're pregnant, and Lois is like, it's not yours, and storms off. Then Barry shows up from the future and it was like, it is yours, Lois lied. That's what Barry was told to tell his past Bruce by future Bruce. Bruce said go and tell him that. Because he tells him that, then when Darkseid breaks into the Batcave to murder Lois, instead of cowering in the corner, Batman goes down there in freaking Mr. President's Lois. He knocks her out of the way and takes the Omega Beam. But get this, he survives the Omega Beam. Makes no sense at all. That is so dumb. A human being surviving the Omega Beams. My goodness. He eventually dies, but he should just be eviscerated like Lois was. Instead, he's Batman, so he survives getting hit by the Omega Beam. This sounds awful. Superman then shows up, beats up Darkseid, sends him retreating, and then Lois tells him about the whole, like, Lex's whole plan to form the Injustice League and all that. So Superman goes out and he's able to warn other people and stop that from happening, thus stopping the Nightmare sequence from happening. But then Darkseid still tries to invade, but we get a sort of recreation of the armies of man and everything, you know, all the different armies of Earth, the Amazons, the Atlanteans, armies of men, all of them, like, all those, and Green Lanterns, they all team up to beat Darkseid, and they end up beating Darkseid. It says there that one of the things that says on there was that Bruce tells Lois that he's in pain from getting hit by the Omega Beams and that he could have had a life outside the cave with her. I don't care about this emotional connection between Lois and Bruce. This sounds so bad. But after the huge battle happens, it says that Batman sacrifices himself to save the League and the world, destroying Darkseid. So I don't know if he does a second sacrifice after getting hit by the Omega Beams. He does something else to destroy Darkseid. I don't know. It doesn't really specify. It just says that. It says, like, Batman sacrifices himself to save the League and the world, destroying Darkseid. And, like, he does it for the woman he loves. So, yeah, because he's in love with Lois. We fast forward 20 years, and Lois tells her son that Bruce is his father, and he becomes the new Batman. So, yeah, because we fast forward 20 years, we see Bruce and Lois' son. That guy believed that son believed that Clark was his father, but apparently Clark learns to accept that that's his son, raises him as his own. But then Lois tells him, their kid, that Bruce was actually his dad, and the kid becomes the new Batman. So this sounds absolutely terrible. Now, some of this stuff has been changed. We're getting new details all the time, so if I got anything wrong, I'm sorry about that. But stuff is, I swear every day we get a new article from somewhere being like, Zack Snyder said this about this. And so stuff's changing all the time, but this was like original storyboards, and this sounds abysmal, especially as a Superman fan. You get another evil Superman storyline I just made a video last year about how I'm sick of evil Superman storylines because it's so lazy and uncreative, and we've gotten so many of them. And some people be like, yeah, but Superman's not actually evil. He's getting controlled by the anti-life equation. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. We've had him mind controlled so many times. Oh, he gets mind controlled by Poison Ivy. He gets mind controlled by Brainiac. He gets mind controlled by the anti-life equation. I don't need to see it again. We've had it happen so many times. It sounds terrible. I don't need to see it again. Nevertheless, I don't need to see Superman get cucked. I don't care to have Bruce go and have a relationship with Lois and them have a kid and then Superman raise that kid. This sounds awful. Like, a lot of people saying restore the Snyderverse. I liked the, I love Man of Steel and I liked Zack Snyder's Justice League, but I really don't want to see any of this on the big screen. Please just let Henry Cavill be actual Superman. Like, this stuff sounds bad, like really, really bad. So, yeah, and also it's all a Batman legacy. Like, in the end, it's all Batman's son becomes Batman and helps Gotham again. And that just, like, it's all revolves around Batman still, which is hilarious and the most DC thing ever. In the end, it was all about Batman. And, I see a lot of people saying that they believe that, like, the Snyder people, like, the Snyder cultists, they're all like, Snyder gets Superman, he loves Superman, he makes everything about Superman. And then the people that don't like Snyder, like, he hates Superman, doesn't understand him. I'm sort of in the, he doesn't hate Superman, but he completely misunderstands him and wants to make Superman cool. I've heard him talk about in interviews how Superman stays the same and is always the same, and he wanted to change things up and give him a huge arc. And Superman doesn't need that. Sorry, Snyder, but he doesn't need your help. He doesn't need some, oh man, Superman's just this boring characters at the same, which isn't true at all. If you look at Superman from even the 90s to now, he's changed so much, especially like what happened at the end of New 52 into Rebirth. How he has a son now with Lois and the family dynamic change. Granted, what happened with Bendis is awful, but if you look at like that change, he's changed a lot and it's really interesting. But Superman at the core is still the same, which is what you want. You want that Superman. But Snyder, I think, is someone that doesn't understand Superman and thinks he can improve him a lot. I think he's someone that doesn't really care for the comic book version. Like, I don't think he likes that sort of John Byrne, Jeff Johns, Peter Tomasi, like, Superman. I don't think he likes that. I think he finds him kind of boring, but I think he likes the idea of Superman with like his powers and such. So that's my interpretation of what I believe Snyder thinks of Superman, and that's why he does this weird version of him where he kind of rejects his humanity and is more Kal-El than Clark. And yeah, that's what I believe. I don't think he hates Superman. I just think he misunderstands him and doesn't really like the traditional comic book version, and he thinks he can make him cooler. But all that being said, I don't want the Snyderverse restored because of this. I want Henry Cavill back as Superman. Give me that Christopher McQuarrie Man of Steel sequel. I would eat that up. But please, for the love of God, do not give me this. I don't need to see evil Superman kill the Justice League and also get cucked by Bruce, and then at the end of the day have everything revolve around Bruce. And also, all the stuff happening in the Justice League movie kind of feels like it hinders a lot of stuff in the solo movies, and also it feels like there's no room for an actual Man of Steel sequel. And just, yeah, I don't want this stuff. So anyways, that's about it. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of this stuff? Is this something you want? And if you don't have anything to say, please leave a comment anyways. It helps with the algorithm. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, everyone.